Welcome back to the California Conversation. I'm Tess Abraham. A few weeks ago, I posted a video breaking down a recent poll of likely voters in California that showed significant shifts toward conservative values on key topics like illegal immigration, gender ideology, and rising crime. Almost half of those polled indicated that they would be likely to vote for a Republican governor come 2026. Now, many of you were surprised by those results, and some of you, like me, were optimistic and excited and want to see California flip red. However, I noticed very quickly in the comments section that comments started to roll in saying that this was delusional, that California would never flip red, and that it's a pointless cause to care about politics in our deeply liberal state. So, is it naive to believe that California can change? And is it pointless to actually care about politics if you're a conservative in California? That's what I want to talk about today. But before we get started, make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you stay up to date on all things California politics. Let's cut straight to the heart of the issue. Should conservatives engage in politics in California? And if so, why? Now, that is a big question, and I could give you a dozen different reasons about why I believe you should engage in politics. But today I want to focus on the most compelling reasons for why you should engage in politics. Before getting into the reasons why, I want to make one thing clear. There is one reason why you should not engage in politics in California, and that is simply to get the outcomes that you are desiring. Now, I know that sounds strange, maybe even a little crazy. After all, if I am advocating for you to engage in politics, then shouldn't you want to see the policy positions that you are advocating for actually be enacted across our state? But here's my point. If outcomes are your only motivation, then you will not last. You will get burnt out. You will be discouraged. You will start to believe the lie that your voice does not matter in a state like California. And soon you will join the chorus in my comments section saying that California is too far gone, that we shouldn't engage in politics, and none of it really matters after all. And that is because while outcomes matter, they cannot be the foundation. We aren't driven by results alone. We are driven by conviction, by truth, by duty, by believing that we stay in the fight no matter how slow the process is or how painful it is to get to these outcomes that we are desiring. We are driven by reasons much deeper than outcomes. What are these deeper reasons? First, the very fact that we can engage in politics at all in our country is a rare and extraordinary privilege. I know that that is probably something you have heard over and over again, and the meaning can really get lost, but it is worth repeating and it is really worth contemplating and understanding. America has some of the strongest protections for free speech. You can disagree with your political leaders, you can protest, you can voice your concerns, and you are protected here. In countries like Germany or the UK, they actually limit free speech a lot in their laws. And in addition to that, countries like Russia or China, dissent can land you in prison. America is so unique because you can voice your values and you can voice when you do not agree with the people who are in your government. Here in America, we are free to form political organizations, nonprofits, or advocacy groups. In other countries like Turkey or Egypt, often they're under surveillance, or these groups can be scrutinized or even shut down outright. We can also contact our elected officials directly. Often they have emails on their websites, or you can mail them letters to their offices. Other countries, you either cannot reach out to them directly or it is pointless to do so. But our representatives do have to listen to us. And our political system gives us unheard of influence. We don't just vote for the president or even in a state just for governor. We vote for sheriffs. We vote for school boards, ballot measures, judges, and even constitutional amendments to our state constitutions in California. That is so insane compared to other countries and the protections and freedoms and rights that they have. Why does all of this matter? Well, because things like free speech and free elections are actually rare in human history. Today, millions, if not billions, of people live under regimes where they do not have these freedoms afforded to them. But when people have this freedom, like we do, but we stop using our rights, that is when we start to lose all of the freedoms that are afforded to us. Governments stop feeling held accountable. Democracy starts to collapse because at the end of the day, the thing that democracy suffers the most from is indifference. Freedom isn't self-sustaining. It requires engagement. Thomas Jefferson put it this way. He said, "The price of freedom is eternal vigilance." We engage in politics, even if we're frustrated with the outcomes, to honor and protect the very freedom that we have to do so. And we also acknowledge that if we do not use this freedom, we likely will lose it. But do we only engage in politics because we have this sense of duty and we feel pressure that we have to, or else we're afraid that we'll lose it? I would argue, no, we take it a step further. We also engage in politics, even when the outcomes are frustrating, because we know that any change worth making often is slow. The best outcomes across history has come from long and determined effort. As John Adams once said, patience and perseverance have a magical effect before which difficulties disappear. Or take Martin Luther King Jr., who reminded us that change does not roll on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. And John F. Kennedy said plainly, "Injustice, poverty, slavery, ignorance, these may be solved by reform, but only if we do not flinch from the struggle." Progress comes in inches, not miles. If we stop showing up, if we stop engaging because we are not getting the outcomes that we want, we will never build anything lasting. Democracy isn't about instant wins. It's about persistence. It's about sacrifice. It's about shaping a society over time. Take the women's suffrage movement as an example. Susan B. Anthony fought for the women's right to vote for over 50 years in her lifetime. She died 14 years before the 19th Amendment was ratified. If she had given up because she did not believe that she was getting the outcome that she wanted, I might not be able to vote today, and all the other women across our country might not have the right to vote. And there are so many other stories like this. Take the civil rights movement in the United States, or take fighting apartheid in South Africa, or take the many other times that people have pushed back against regimes or against their governments, not only in the United States, but across the world. And you'll see that they have been long, continuous uphill battles. They felt impossible at the time by the people who were fighting them, but eventually they made change to communities, societies, and governments. So we stay in the fight, not because it is easy, because it is necessary. And we also recognize that walking away from this fight doesn't make anything better. It just delays the day when things will be better. Speaking of things getting better, your skincare routine can get instantly better with the use of Amalo's tallow products. Amalo is a small family business that is dedicated to providing you with a clean and high-quality product that you can feel good about putting on your skin. They use well-sourced, high-quality ingredients like organic essential oils and grass-fed, grass-finished tallow in all of their products so that you do not have to wonder if you are putting any toxins on your body. You absolutely are not, and it will become essential for your skincare routine. Tallow actually resembles the structure of the human skin, which means that it can absorb moisture and lock in that water retention, making it perfect for dry, damaged, or sensitive skin. I have been using Amalo's tallow products for over a year now, and I actually have one of them right here with me. I recently tried this new vanilla latte scented tallow, and believe me when I say it smells like a vanilla latte. I even have my husband hooked on their tallow products. That's how good they are. So if you are ready to make the switch and you want that healthy, beautiful, natural glow, you should check them out at amalo.com/TessAbraham to get 15% off your order. They have so many other products as well, like clean perfume, goat milk soap, and lip gloss. So if you are ready to make the switch, go check them out at amalo.com/TessAbraham. That's AMALLOW.com/TessAbraham to get 15% off your order and to support the show. But getting back to California, often there are two dominant views that I hear from political commentators about California. The first says, pack up and leave. It says, move to a state like Texas or Tennessee or Florida, where you can live under Republican governance, and it isn't even worth trying to fight the battles in a state like California. The second view says that if you do stay, don't expect much. Your voice doesn't really matter. Everything is too far gone. It's just too liberal, and you can't make a difference. difference. But I want to argue that those are false choices. You do not have to decide between leaving a state like California or staying and just being complacent. I would argue that if you stay, if you want to stay, or you have to stay in a deeply liberal state like California or Colorado or New York, that you can and should still try to make change and that your voice does still matter. Now, if you decide you want to move to another state, that is okay. There is no moral obligation to continue living in a Democrat-run state if you are a Republican and if you want to live under more conservative values. But for some of us, it's not that simple. Some of us have to stay because family is in these states, or because our jobs don't allow us to leave, or simply we don't want to leave the state because we like living there. And that is okay too. My husband and I could probably afford to buy a house if we moved to a red state tomorrow. We would probably save more money. It would be easier to start and raise our family. We would live under governance that aligns more with our values. But we stay because our church community is here. It's where we feel called to serve. It's the people and community who we want to raise our kids around and grow our family with. So here's the third option. You can stay and you can make change. It doesn't have to be either or. And quite frankly, if we believe that our values lead to flourishing, if we believe that our values actually build up society and are for the good of the people around us, then we should not just be comfortable writing off entire states in our country as just not worth living in and not worth trying to make that change in. We have to fight for these values everywhere, especially the places that we believe need them the most. Just like with a serious illness, you do not avoid the root cause of the problem. If you had cancer, you wouldn't worry most about your skincare routine or even how many steps a day you are getting in. You would want to fight the cancer at its root and get it out of your system. The same is true with our country. We can't just write off California. California shapes a lot of policy. It shapes culture, law, technology, and other policies that are going to bleed out into other states. California and other states like it will not stay in a vacuum or in a bubble. The dysfunction will only spread. So if we care about our nation as a whole, we need to recognize that California is a battleground for a lot of these cultural and political issues, and we cannot look away from the sickest part of our country. So we stay, we engage, and we fight, not because it's easy, but because we understand what's at stake. You don't just walk away from what's broken. You treat it, you root out what is killing it, and you hold on to hope for healing it. At the end of the day, what is all of this really about? What is the core reason that underlies all of these arguments for why we should engage in politics in California? It's this: politics affects people. They affect you, they affect me, they affect everybody around us in our communities. And so if we care about people, if we care about our neighbors, then we have to engage in the politics that affect their lives. Do you think that you don't have to engage in politics because they don't affect you day to day? They don't affect you going to the grocery store. They don't affect you doing your job. They don't affect at all how you live. That is a dangerous illusion. Politics do affect so many aspects of our lives. They shape the laws that we follow, the freedoms that we enjoy, or the freedoms that we don't enjoy. And so that is why we fight for good policy, because policy affects people in real, tangible ways. From criminal justice to public safety, to the cost of living, to inflation, to how you raise your kids, to how you live out your faith, all of it is affected by politics, even down to the type of car that you drive or are allowed to buy here and the curriculum that your kids are exposed to in school. All of it comes down to political decisions and policy positions. And even if you personally don't believe that you are feeling the effects of policy in your life, I guarantee you that someone else is living out the consequences of bad policy. Every story that we cover every week on this show, every headline that you read about the next thing happening in California, all of it is a direct result of the policy positions taken by our leaders in government. Parents are losing children to gender ideology that is a policy position of our government. Babies, real human babies, are being murdered in the womb because of our state's protections of abortion. California residents live in fear of violent crime because of California's criminal justice system, allowing criminals to walk free and refusing to punish them for for the crimes that they commit. Schools are being sued by our state's attorney general because they don't teach what the state wants them to teach when that teaching actually opposes the values of the people that they represent in their districts and communities. Farmers are losing land or moving out of California because they aren't supported by our state's policies. Cities are overrun with homeless populations that affect how people are allowed to live their lives day to day because of poor policy decisions taken on the issue. Billions of taxpayer dollars are wasted on a budget deficit because our money is mismanaged by our government leaders. And every single day, families of faith especially, are questioning how long they'll be able to hold on in our state before they have to move because they are afraid of how they are able to live out their values. Policy is absolutely affecting people, and you can either speak out against it and try to make change, or you inadvertently support it through your silence. So yes, politics matter no matter what state you live in, because justice matters, because truth matters, and because the people around you matter. So circling back to the questions that I asked at the beginning of the show, is it naive to believe that California can change? Is it pointless to engage in politics in California, especially if you are a conservative? My answer is no. Absolutely not. We engage because we can. We engage because we know that it takes time. And we engage because we know that it affects real life people and we care about people. It's not pointless to care about politics in California. It's essential. It's not foolish to stay and try to enact real change. It's faithful. And it is not naive to actually believe that California could change through our acts. It's courageous. The work is slow. The road is long, but I believe that it is worth it. And if you're still listening to this, then I believe that you think that it's worth it too. Let's keep going together. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope it was helpful for you as you navigate life in California and that you feel more inspired than ever to fight for conservative values in our state. You can follow me on social media at It's Tess Abraham, and I'll see you back here next time for another episode of The California Conversation.